All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. There are youngsters that are growing up as basketball fans who don't know that there was a time in which the Detroit Pistons were one of the NBA's most dominant teams. From 1989 to 2004, the Pistons claimed three NBA titles, while from 2003 to 2008, they made six consecutive appearances in the Eastern Conference Finals. But since then, it's been a rapid decline for the Pistons as they have become one of the NBA's bottom feeders. And unfortunately, they have taken up extended residency in the league's basement. Now, since 2009, the Pistons only have two playoff appearances to their credit, while they have not even won a single postseason game in either of those trips to the playoffs. The Pistons have been horrendous in regards to evaluating players, as the only good players that they've drafted, they ended up giving away. And I mean, it's a litany of players. And just one guy I'm going to bring up right now is Chris Middleton. Of course, he's going on to have so much success with the Milwaukee Bucks. But in each of the last three seasons, Detroit has lost at least 50 games, which included losing 65 games last year. And the struggles that the Pistons endured last year have continued here. They started off by winning two of their first three this season, so there was some optimism. But since then, the Pistons have not won a single game. They went 0 for the month of November, and that is very hard to do in the National Basketball Association. But nonetheless, the Pistons found a way to pull it off. Even last year, Detroit was one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA, and it has continued so far here to begin this season. As entering play today, they were 23rd in points allowed, and offensively, they're not that much better as they're 27th in points scored per game. Now, Cade Cunningham was the first overall pick of the 2021 NBA draft by the Pistons, and obviously, he had a season where he missed the bulk of the time with the shin injury. He's a promising scorer, and you could see that as he's leading this team so far this season at 22 per game. But Cade Cunningham is a piece. He's not a franchise player that you're going to go there and build a team around. He is a piece, and he does have potential. I think he is better served as being a two guard in regards to being listed as a point guard, and a lot of that just has to do with the analytics, floating around sports now. Well, we just want the ball in the hands of the best player. No, 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 no. The Pistons need themselves a legit floor general. I think more teams need to go back to the concept of having a true point guard. And I think this young Pistons team could benefit from that. And you look at a Pistons franchise that over the years knows a thing or two about the point guard position. You just look at Isaiah Thomas and Chauncey Billups. I mean, Isaiah Thomas is arguably one of the best point guards ever. And for a lot of people, they will tell you that Isaiah Thomas is in like their top two or top three of all time point guards. And then, we saw what Isaiah Thomas could do for the Pistons and how the leadership that he brought when he helped this team win a pair of NBA championships. And then, of course, Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups, you go back to that 2004 NBA Finals where Billups was actually the Finals MVP when the Pistons beat the Lakers. And he was a catalyst for the Detroit Pistons throughout the 2000s. So, nonetheless, I think the Pistons definitely need to go out there and find themselves a legit point guard. Monty Williams, a veteran NBA head coach, is in his first season with Detroit, and I think this is a fact-finding mission for him and the young Pistons. I mean, it's one of those where the Pistons have been competitive in some games. I will give them that, but they're still coming up on the short end of the stick because this young team does not know how to win in the NBA, and they need more talent. I mean, you look at Bojan Bogdanovic; he's only appeared in two games for Detroit, but again, like I said, Cade Cunningham is a piece. The Pistons are well away from being a contender. I mean, we didn't expect them to be that much better this season, at least I didn't. However, they're still like, I mean, you still expected them to be slightly better at this point, not 2-19. So you're looking at it right now. There, and I said this last season, there is a culture change that needs to occur in this organization. Why? Because you have a situation where when you're this bad for this long, your opponents, all they kn like, they basically know, "You know what? Let's lace them up, let's go out there, let's handle our business, let's get on the plane and go home," and that's basically what it is. Nobody fears, the Detroit Pistons. So, this team is still a ways away from competing. I'm not gonna go as far as to say this team won't win 10 games, but I'll tell you like this, they only won 17 games last year. They are well on their way to flirting with that once again. Nobody around the league fears the Pistons. This is a team that simply does not know how to win. A team full of youngsters that are going out there and trying to compete in the NBA, and they just don't have it. So, I mean, ownership has given Monty Williams, if you will, the green light to go out there and try to turn things around. I think this is a fact-finding mission year for him. But I think what needs to occur in Detroit, like I said last year, they need to do a better job as far as drafting, evaluating talent, and more importantly, developing talent. The Pistons have passed up on a lot of guys in recent years in the draft that could have come in and made an impact for this team. That comes down to scouting. The Pistons have also given up on a lot of guys that have gone to other organizations and succeeded. That comes down to developing talent. So it starts from the top. And I think until the Pistons can find themselves more structure at the top of their organization to get this thing turned around, it ain't going to get turned around. Chelsea Grin, what's going on? How are you doing this evening? You're saying would be tragic if they have the worst record this year and miss out on the first pick again. Yeah, that would be. I mean, it's one of those you do all of that losing for nothing. And going back to it, maybe this could be the curse of Darko Milicic. I mean, and I say that because very rarely will a team have the opportunity like the Pistons did back in 2003. The Pistons had the second overall pick, courtesy of a trade with the Grizzlies. And you think about the Hall of Famers that were taken in that draft. Clearly, they didn't get the first pick, so they didn't get LeBron. He went to the Cavs, of course. But you still, had Chris Bosh right there. You still had Dwayne Wade right there. You still had Carmelo Anthony right there. All three guys. Dwayne Wade's already. I think Chris Bosh is in there, and Springfield as well. As far as Hall of Famers, and obviously, clearly, Carmelo Anthony is going to be there sooner rather than later. But nonetheless, you passed up on those guys. And I know that the Pistons were competing at the time, but just think how that lineage could have gone on. My point is, you don't get opportunities that often to go out there and get franchise altering talent like that. And, sometimes it comes back to bite you. And, the Pistons have made some bad personnel decisions. This goes back to the end of Joe Dumars' time as far as running the front office with the Pistons. And it's continued. I mean, you go back to 2009, they traded Chauncey Billups to the Denver Nuggets for Allen Iverson. That was the beginning of the end for things for the Nuggets. I mean, for the Pistons, rather. Then after that, going out there, striking out in free agency with the likes of Ben Gordon and Charlie Villanueva, going out there, giving up, picks and young guys for Blake Griffin, and we could just go on and on and on with so many bad moves that have continued to plague this team. Now they're at the point where they're just making mistakes drafting because they're not going to be able to lure free quality free agents there, especially with the product that they have out there. They're not going to lure fans to downtown Detroit with the quality product that their quality of product or lack thereof that they're putting out there. But the bottom line is just like winning is infectious, so is losing. This team simply does not know how to win. And it's one of those where it's reminiscent of the Los Angeles Clippers of the 1990s, okay? Or the Cincinnati Bengals, football wise, of the 1990s. When your organization goes bad, it's infectious, just like it is with winning. And right now, this team, this young team, simply does not know how to get it done. Uh, when things go this bad, sometimes it appears that there's no end in sight. And right now, at least, I don't think there's an end in sight for what's going on with the Pistons. I think, like I said, Cade Cunningham is a start, but they need more pieces. And again, they need guys in there who are coaches, front office people, players, everything. They need guys in that organization that are going to go out there and change the culture and say, you know what, enough is enough. We're tired of this. We're going to do what we got to do, whatever it takes to turn this thing around and win. And until that philosophy, reaches the Motor City, they're going to continue to have a feudal product. And it's unfortunate because the Pistons have a history of success in the NBA. The Pistons have a lineage. And again, like I said, there's a generation of basketball fans that are watching the NBA right now, and they don't know anything about that. You're saying, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Winners win and losers lose. That's just how it goes. Yeah, listen, it's a culture. I mean, you look at any organization that has turned things around when they were down on the luck. It starts at the top with getting things turned around. I always think about, obviously, it was a month of Sundays ago, but nonetheless, when Jimmy Johnson went to the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys, those last couple of years under Tom Landry had gotten really bad. And then, of course, Jimmy Johnson's first year with the Cowboys, they were 1-15. They went from 1-15 to 7-9 to 11-5 with a playoff appearance. Next, thing you know, the Lombardi trophies are, coming into Dallas. So again, but it starts at the top of your organization. That's just one example, but nonetheless, the Pistons got to try to figure this thing out because if not, another 60 loss season is definitely on the horizon in Motown. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. Chelsea Grin, as always, it was a pleasure. Definitely appreciate the continued support and definitely be on the lookout tomorrow when I make my picks for this weekend in the NFL. Working on some possible upsets, and I'm also obviously clearly going to give you a reason why I'm rolling with said teams on said upsets. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But nonetheless, folks, this is William Martin signing off and saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.